welcome everyone to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the Artist First Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. Find them at artistfirst.com. Please send your questions and comments to dj@artistfirst.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
And thank you very much, EveryMan, and I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And that's it, right?
Yeah.
No.
That's the summation of it all.
That would be a very painful show.
Pain. Yes. Tonight, we're going to speak about pain.
I can feel a segue coming on.
Oh, my goodness.
And we're going to use our muse, our favorite muse, Eckhart Tolle.
Right. But it just occurred to me that, the amount of pain that we as human beings experience there's no quantitative way to put a number on it. It's just, this is part of what we experience down here. And most of the time, if pain rears up, the reaction is to run away. Just, I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to be involved with pain. No. But it's part of what goes on down here. And frankly, there's so many different types of pain that you can experience.
Well, we're jumping right into the middle of it. But yes, we're going to talk about pain. Do you want to jump into the beginning of the middle of it and go with the quote, or what do you want to do?
I'm good. Whatever way, if you want to do.
You want me to do it? That would be painful.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to?
People like your voice much better than they like my voice. I don't know why.
All right.
So you going to do it?
Sure, I can do it.
Oh, good.
All right. What basically had happened was I was here listening to some music, all right, and I heard a relatively new song by Oliver Anthony, and it was called Scornful Woman. So you're like, oh.
And for those most people do know because he became somewhat internet famous, but he's a singer from West Virginia, I believe, and his huge breakout hit was Richmond, north of Richmond. But this one was, he has many different genres.
Right.
You could try to say he's a country singer, but it isn't really country. It's very much, it's a humanistic type of song. Panoply of songs, if you will. So go ahead, sorry. So Oliver Anthony.
Yes, and his song was called Scornful Woman. I thought, oh, that's a different kind of subject for him because he does sing about the struggles he's had with addiction and depression. But Scornful Woman was like, oh. So when I listened to it, that's when I realized he is going through a very painful divorce. And I believe they also had a child involved, a newborn. And he's one of those people who really doesn't care if he's rich or he's poor. He came from a poor background, and it doesn't scare him to be poor. But who knows what has happened because of the sudden fame. And he and his wife were going through this very hard time. But the pain that he was communicating in that song was heartrending. He's very good at communicating that particular emotion of betrayal, heartache, brokenness, really, is what it is. And you realize that it's the circumstances that are around you, the way you have committed yourself to what you felt was lasting. We're going to build a life together. And for whatever reason, when this starts breaking apart, you realize that what you thought you knew and how you felt was not what was going on. In that moment, the floor drops out from underneath you. Everything you built your day-to-day on was on this foundation of, okay, we're together, and knowing you as I do, this is how we walk. But to have that ripped away from you, shattered, very difficult. What you thought you knew and who you thought you were is shattered. And the only thing you've got left is pain. Because there's nothing solid to stand on anymore. It shifts and changes. What? Oh. So, pain in that mode, until you really release the pain, your tendency is to go back to it and rehash it over and over and over again. And that causes nothing but pain. Did you want to say something?
No, I was trying to figure out where you're going. But to come back to where we are with this, so Oliver Anthony put out this song, and it basically gave us this topic. Now, pain is no stranger to the soul of the everyman. We talk about it in many different shows and many different aspects. But what we see there, as you just said, that this is a pain which is directly associated with loss, as is much pain. Much of what we experience in this world has to do with loss. Rather, much of the pain that we experience in this world has to do with loss. There's physical pain, but this is often fleeting. You'll stub your toe, or something will happen. You'll hurt yourself, and there's pain. And you do, as you mentioned right at the very beginning, there's aversion, right? You want to avoid pain. So this is something to be avoided, and you can see this in every other creature on Earth. Even the smallest bug. If you hurt it, it will shy away from that. They call it a noxious stimulus, right? Mm-hmm. Noxious stimulus. So that's a lot of that is associated with just survival. But if you take all that out, although that's certainly significant, the actual physical noxious stimuli, the experience of painful stimuli, you want to avoid. But if you separate that out and just say the lion's share of what pain that is experienced by beings, by people, maybe some animals, but let's just confine ourselves to people, has to really do with loss. And what you just mentioned is so key to pain. Oftentimes, what is at the kernel of people's pain is the loss of who they thought they were. And so this is an abstraction. It means that you had identified, you had built a persona, a you, like an avatar, if you want to use the speech of the gamers. You had a you, an avatar, and then you looked at that and said, that's me, and you put a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of identity into that thing. And it also, as you mentioned with Oliver Anthony and many other people, it can be a relationship. You dedicated a tremendous amount of resources and time and energy to a relationship, and then within it you had an identity as well. That they said, this is who I am in this relationship, and this is who this person is in this relationship. And the loss here is that those entities get destroyed or broken or shattered, as you mentioned, and as well as in the same sort of experience, the persona that you had created, let's say, because sometimes relationships aren't built on reality. Imagine that.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Sometimes relationships are just fantasies, or at least they're
Projections.
They're projections,
Yeah.
and the persona that you had created of the other, of who they were in your mind or in
Right.
your thoughts or in your whatever it was.
Your story.
So there's a huge aspect of I was wrong, I'm betrayed, they're not who I thought they were, and there's pain associated with that. So if you take out all the noxious stimuli, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, of course it does. Pain at the physical level exists,
Mm-hmm.
but a great deal, I would say, to put a number on it, maybe way more than 3/4 of the pain, or very much all the pain that people experience that sticks with them, is the pain of loss of who you thought you were. It's an existential pain, but you're not losing anything physical. You're losing things which are, let's say, creations. I like your word better, projections.
Mm-hmm.
They're not real in one sense, but they're very real in another sense. And when it's your identity, or your maybe there's multiple identities, roles, and so on, we call them. When they're lost, there's a tremendous sense of who am I? As you said it earlier, like you have no more ground to stand on.
Right, to function from, because we are meant for a relationship, and in order to do that, you have to have a center point to function from. The way humans think, you've got to have something to connect to first, and then you can reach out and discuss from a common base. Just math in general. My goodness, your origin point.
Mm-hmm.
You can only graph when you come out of the origin point.
Or navigate.
Mm-hmm, navigation, exactly. But this is how we function as human beings. So in a relationship, you try to set down a foundation or an origin point and then grow from there. But when you realize that it wasn't the same for the other person, it just blows your mind, because you've identified yourself in this relationship a certain way, and it turns out this other person identified themselves in this relationship a different way. So neither of you actually knew where the other one was.
Well, and interestingly, if you kind of dwell on that a little bit, the pain of a lie is
Right.
sort of that. The pain of betrayal is sort of that. And then there's also this idea of and you just sort of said it, but I want to kind of re-say that the relationship acquires its own identity, but that when you see when a relationship is falling apart and the other reveals that their identity with the relationship was very different than you thought it was, they were. So to take a case in point, just kind of abstract one, people will say, well, I wanted this in a relationship. I wanted children or stability or security, whatever it is. They have some list of things, maybe it's just one thing. And they wanted that. They just saw this as, I saw this as the love of my life, and they saw it as a casual hookup, to be very, very, disparate.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was completely, 100% totally committed to the relationship and anything with it. and they, were looking at me as just an amusement or sort of an interval in their lives, and it was just going to be for a while, and then I'm going to go on. And they weren't fully committed, and yet I thought they were. So there's all this idea of expectations, all this idea of the old saying, when you assume, well, you were assuming, you were, and oftentimes the ego will say is that, I was led astray, again, the ego loves to, I was lied to, I was made a fool of, I gave everything to this and you gave nothing. There's all the stories spin up, but at the root of all of these things is, and what they cause is pain. But at the root of all these things is loss, and then the associated pain, because you go back to childhood when the biggest cry you'll hear from a child is when their toy is taken away, because you're losing something that you're my toy, mine. I'm identifying with the toy. It's mine. It's me. It's something that belongs to me.
An extension of
me.
Mm-hmm. And when that is broken, that boundary that you set, because that's, when you say it's mine, you're setting up a boundary.
Right.
This is
within me.
Right. So when it's broken, it always causes pain.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries, when you push your absolute boundaries, it's always uncomfortable, no matter what happens. And frankly, that's how we learn. I mean, when people are trying to lift, get stronger, get their muscles stronger, then they're trying to lift greater and greater weights. There is that breakdown that's got to happen, and it hurts, and then it hurts as it's healing. But in the end, you're able to lift more than what you started with. And I know people who continue doing that because they have a regime. They're aiming for something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to bear the pain because they have a goal. And they understand that the pain is just a temporary boundary that they will eventually get through.
And can also become, that's an interesting way to think about it, because pain, properly identified, can be said, well, this is important to feel this now because I'm going to grow. So you have loss, pain, growth, healing, and then strength out of that cycle. And that's muscles, sure, but it's also you, your being. Okay, so if we go back a little bit, Margaret started out with this. We come here into this incarnation not because we're going to a fairy tale amusement park where everything's going to be light and puppies and sweetness all the time. No, we're coming here to experience things. One of the tenets of this place is there will be pain, but if you only focus on that, you say, well, why am I here? There will be pain, but there will be experience, growth, healing, and strength, and development. In essence, you're coming here to develop, to grow, to experience, and all those things sound great until you say, well, each one of them is going to involve some pain. And then people are like, oh, no, I don't want to grow. I don't want to develop. I don't want. But yet, I really can't avoid it. But yet, that is what we're here for.
Pain is part of the process.
Essential.
And we are in process always. The one thing that is certain in this life is change. And pain is part of the process of change. And if you make your mindset broad enough, in other words, you make space for the fact that, it's going to hurt. and just understand that there's some hurting involved. Okay. Well, where does that belong? In other words, you don't take that hurt or pain and say, you blow it up to mountainous proportions. You just understand, well, what does this signify? Because I think it's interesting to see how people associate pain with a whole bunch of other things besides the fact that you hit a boundary. And we've mentioned this before. They have a tendency to say that, well, that boundary was my identity. Therefore, you're breaking apart my identity of who I am. And that's not true. Just that you're pushing past that boundary. And you are much more than whatever has happened to you. Coming back home to that truth, you are so much more than what you think or what you've experienced.
The word uncomfortable is a good one to interject here. So what you just said is very important because, again, you're basically saying that with perspective, with clearer eyes than you currently have, perhaps, or that you should develop, the perspective is that we're not coming here for sweetness and puppies. You're coming here for experience. And if you bake into that, and this is, you guys did a lot of this when you were beginning to train the young children, you bake into that the ability to handle adversity, to handle pain.
Right.
Not, okay, there's a subtle difference here. I just want to digress for a second. Not to control pain, not to avoid pain, not to ensure and insulate yourself from pain. A lot of people say, well, okay, I'm going to handle that. Means I'm going to make sure that I never feel it. That's handling pain. No. Handling pain is saying, I understand that what I'm doing, like entering into a relationship, well, no matter what, the best of relationships will do two things. They will change on a moment-by-moment basis.
It's true.
And they will end in some way. Every relationship ends in some way. And that way means that it really changes in some way. Your relationship with your parents changes over time. Your relationship with your spouse changes over time. Your relationship with your children changes over time. At some point or another, they're going to die, you're going to die. But the relationship even survives that. So if you, with perspective, teach children initially how to handle pain, not avoid, not control, not insulate, but that, yes, things are going to happen. And so you teach children in small ways. Oh, this one took your toy. Oh, well, what do you feel? You feel bad about it, but you aren't angry. You say, okay, well, now, how can we solve this problem? And we think about it, and we use our mind in the proper way, not to insulate or control, but to just say, well, I could share. So we work our way through a process which says, yes, there is going to be some pain. I really, really don't want to play with the toy, but I can't right now. But it's okay because in this moment of now, we're not playing with the toy. But in the next one, we might, or we might do something different, or we're understanding that experiential pain is something that's going to happen. You understand that. You give yourself, as Margaret said, perspective. You get, and this is sort of a funny thing to say, but Tolle says this too, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
You get comfortable with the fact that in this moment of now, there may be some pain. And you say, okay, in this moment of now, there's some pain. But I know that it's not me. Margaret just said it. You don't identify with your disease or your circumstances. You say, it's not me. It just hurts right now. But I also know that the next moment will be different. I also know that the being who I am will survive this and experience it, and that the pain was baked into the cake. It was always going to be there. And that it isn't something to be avoided. It's something to be, in a weird way, embraced as an experience.
Well, as an experience, it's allowing yourself to move through the pain.
Yes.
You don't embrace it or hang on to it.
Right, I don't mean embrace it that way, yeah. Yes, yes.
What you do is you walk through the experience and you keep moving. That's the truth of it. You must always keep moving. And you move through the pain just as you move through any emotion and not hang on to it, because that's the one thing I do remember someone telling me, that you're supposed to like hang on to your happy moments like you're supposed to put hooks in them and just hang on to it. And when you do that, you're concentrating on the hook part of it. You're really not experiencing the happiness in the moment, which is what I find fascinating. You know, hang on to it. It's like, okay, do you understand that you as a human being in the state of happiness is experiential? You must open your heart and allow that happiness to flow through you so you can feel it absolutely. And then that's where the memory comes in. Pain is similar in that you don't hang on to it, but you move through it. And this too passes. So you allow that pain, you allow, okay, this was what happened. I went past my boundary, and it hurts. All right. Move through it. Okay. Next. What does the moment of now have for me in this time and space? Now,
good.
Maybe we should read the quote.
We haven't read the quote yet?
No.
Oh my God, you're right. We argued, we didn't argue, we discussed reading the quote, and then we went right past. That's so painful.
Expectation. Yeah.
Wait, let's. Would you like to read the quote?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Right.
That was dumb.
It's not. Pain can only feed on pain. Pain cannot feed on joy. It finds it quite indigestible. Totally.
Well, it's good. This is actually maybe an apropos moment to bring it up. But so it's very interesting when people externalize pain and create an entity out of it. Then pain becomes something you identify with. And what I want to go back to what you just said, because I think it really fits in. So the correct way to handle all experiences is to realize that they're going to flow through you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you identify, when you put hooks into an experience, happiness or pain or whatever it is, you stop flowing through it. You have grasped it. You have frozen it. You've shaped it into something which looks like you, which you think looks like you. You give it. The hooks are like literally like you're putting cement and you're pouring a mold and making it into a simulacrum of yourself, giving it a lot of energy and saying this will always be this pain or this will always be this happiness, whatever it is. Both those things are embodiments, and Tolle uses the very evocative way of saying it is the pain body. Then the pain body, like any entity, like all entities, needs nourishment. It needs to feed. And this is very prescient of Tolle's. Pain bodies need pain. So if you do this, you put hooks in your pain, I'm never going to forgive them ever. I'm going to hold on to this painful experience for the rest of my life. Okay, all right.
And you may be in the right.
Well, yes, but let me just
go ahead.
Once you've done that thing lives somewhere in a corner of your persona, in some little cave, like a troll, and you have to feed it. And it says, I don't want happiness, I don't want joy, I don't want anything except pain. And so you got to go find more. You got to dig up pain to shovel in its mouth. And it can consume you. So go ahead, Mom.
No, it's just that you may have had an experience where you are justified in feeling that resentment. It's like
you were wronged.
You had been wronged. But hanging on to that perpetuates the pain. And just speaking from experience for myself, after our son Christopher had died, I understood I was a witness to his life experience. And as his witness, I believed that I had to hang on to all the painful moments because I was going to be able to give that as almost like a testimony. I'm the witness. What I didn't understand was the fact that those were eternal moments, and eternal moments are always written in the book of eternity. That's maybe the best way to put it. They're never forgotten. And there's no need for me to hang on to them with two hands and try to keep that memory alive. It wasn't good for me. It begins to tear you apart piece by piece. And you don't wind up enjoying your life because you're reminded, no, I'm supposed to hang on to this pain because that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I'm crazy that way, where I feel ultra responsible for it all. And it's not my purvey. It's not my responsibility. I am a witness, but the testimony is already in, and I didn't realize it.
Mm.
So allowing yourself to open up and release the pain. Understand that you are not that pain, even though the moment dictated you are going to hurt when this is happening. Yes, it hurt. It more than hurt. It shattered. But that's okay, because I am more than the experience. And I can honestly say that. My existence goes past all of that, but I see it for what it is.
Mm.
So I just wanted to mention that pain in general, especially when it's an experience, that's what you would consider a past pain. And past pains, as Michael was saying, can live on in your memory and your mind and your body, and it does take a toll, because every time that pain body, let's say, needs to get fed, it will call up all the painful past you've ever had. But allowing space, let it go, to forgive, even though you may not feel like forgiving, okay? Or forgetting. You may not feel like forgetting. But to understand that life continues eternally. And that's what brings us to the other level of pain, which is the pain that you can decide to create in the moment of now.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I don't want to go too far past this, but I mean, you're absolutely right. But I want to just go back to, the experience which happens to many, which you were just describing, of wanting to hold on to a pain. It seems very natural for us. You say, well, I was wronged. This experience should never be forgotten. And there's almost a there is a compulsion. That's the word I'm looking for. A compulsion to stop. Even with physical pain, when a physical pain hits you, oftentimes you will just completely stop, consumed by the pain. Well, a pain, the pain of loss, or the pain in the spirit, the pain of experience, can freeze you, and that's the tendency that people do. They feel this tremendous, crushing, shattering pain. You feel as though you're being destroyed in that moment. You, the persona that is you, is being destroyed. And almost reflexively, you want to hold on to it. You want to say, well, this should never be forgotten. This experience must be preserved. And it becomes your job, in essence. Almost you no longer live in the moment. You live in the past. You live with this pain or multiple pains. You keep them alive. I'm never going to forget whatever happened to me. I'm never going to forgive this person. I'm always going to keep this person's, this experience, the memory of this loss or this pain with me and present in my experience because it was so significant. But those things are all seemingly natural, almost like a, this is what I must do. But all of them are merely, I hesitate to say lies, but what they are merely the calling of the persona, the pain as a persona, to live, to preserve itself, to be fed by past or current experience. And the thing that Margaret said earlier is exactly right. You experience pain by moving through it. The old saying is, if you're going through hell, don't stop. Keep walking. If you're in a particularly hideous pain, you will remember it, but as an experience, not as an entity, not as who you are. And you will go to the next moment of who you are, which will not be this pain. So sorry, back to what you were saying too, which is also extremely important, is that the pain itself can oftentimes divide, and one kind of makes the other, kind of reinforces the other. If you're stuck with a pain body, with an entity which is demanding to be fed, it needs pain. It can take its pain from the past, or it can create new pain from the present. And sometimes it does it at the same time. It brings up the past to create pain in the present, if you know what I mean. It right. Literally will dredge up, in any particular situation you may find yourself in, the pain body will rise up and say, this is just like what happened to us before, and we should tell these people off, and we should do this, and this is what we should feel right now, and all the pain that you experienced as a child, you're going to bring to this moment, and you're going to make them pay for it, and you're going to all that in an instant, so that tremendous emotion and tremendous personal power, your life force, is compressed into agony and shoved into the insatiable appetite of the pain body. And it grows, and it gets stronger, and it says, yes, we are pain. I am this thing. You must never forget. You must never forgive. If this sounds familiar, it's exactly what all of us are tempted to do. And it is a toxic entity which lives and takes your life force, and really, as Tolle says here in a sort of strange way, it pushes all joy away from you, because it doesn't want joy. Joy is indigestible. Joy is like, in some ways, the antidote to these things. You feed them joy and they'll wither away. Well, they don't want joy. They want anything but.
Well, the pain is, it is that breaking the boundary of the ego. And that's all a mental and emotional construct. Who you think you are. Very mental. Or this is the way I feel. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the emotional construct. But the allowing yourself to feel joy, and I do mean allowing, because to be able to be in the moment dissipates all that machinations of the spin, of the mental, of the emotional. Being right there in the moment means you're giving up all this resentment. Let's say, oh, they did this to me, or oh, they didn't listen to me, or oh, it's
this is just like that used to be then.
yes.
You know, now is exactly what it was back then.
Right. What I thought, this is the way our relationship was supposed to work, and it didn't happen.
Right. That's your fault.
And it's your fault, mind you.
Mind you.
But to be in the moment of joy, none of that is capable of existing. Because to be in joy, you have to be in the present moment. Enjoying what is unfolding right in front of you. You're centered more on the beauty of what's in front of you, or the awestruck, like staring at a night sky with no clouds and just seeing depth upon depth, or the vastness of the ocean and the sound of it. It's the joy of being. And when you're there, none of the other stuff really matters. It has no room, maybe is the best way to put it, for that resentment or any kind of anger or negative emotion to come in, because you are enjoying your moment. And when you recognize, first of all, it's the awareness. If your awareness is capable of recognizing, oh, there it is again, I'm slipping into this resentment, this thought, or this emotion of how dare you. Oh, how dare you.
Yeah, or as you said, just, that the idea that you're not in the present moment, that you realize it, that you catch yourself.
You catch yourself in that. That's the beginning of freedom from that pain body.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And pain body especially when you're talking about Tolle, is interesting, because he basically looks at pain body as this large, almost conglomerate of different negative pains that this body can take on. This is the anger body. So one angry person winds up attracting another angry person.
Yes.
Or a depressed person. And easily recognize that, oh, this person is also thinking the same way I am. So misery loves company. There's a reason for it. Because the pain body wants to continue. And when it finds another person that it can continue with, it will trigger. You wind up triggering each other in pain, so that, okay, feed my pain body now I'll feed your pain body.
Right.
And that's how some people's relationships are. It's a mutual pain body exchange or nourishment. I don't know how else to allow the other person's pain body to exist. In other words, something bad may have happened to you, and you are in the support group. Now, if the group doesn't push you towards moving past whatever this pain is, it just perpetuates it. Your pain. I'll feed you. You feed me.
These are like toxic environments where they one builds. Everyone knows that toxicity often breeds toxicity, or negativity breeds negativity. And as you said, misery loves company. But I want to go back because we had some gems in there a little bit. So what Tolle is saying here is pain cannot feed on joy, and joy, very, very importantly, is not happiness. We've talked about this in the past. Joy is not happiness, because you can be joyful in what might be considered a very, less than ideal circumstances. You can be joyful and joy-filled even in what would be considered the worst kind of circumstance, because joy has one essential quality to it. And the essential quality of joy is that it requires, Margaret said it before, presence. Presence in the moment of now. It has inherently joy. So presence in the moment of now means that you realize two things, that you cannot control the moment of now. You can only control how you feel about it, how you be in it, to use sort of an incorrect construct in English, how you am in it. You am in the moment of now, and therefore you have joy because you realize that it is only the moment of now, that it is only an experience, it is not you. So this, if you remain in the present moment, in essence the moment of now, and enjoy, the pain body withers. It gets nothing. Even if you start out with many entities within you which are looking for pain, and they may try very hard to attract pain to you. And so initially you may feel as though you're being buffeted by all these things, but in the present moment you just say, well, yeah, all these things are happening to me. You go, well, it is what it is, but I know it's going to change. I know that even in the present moment I can hold to my joy, to my bliss and my peace. Joy is also peace. Peace is stillness. If you're in the stillness and in the moment and in peace, you're the eye of the storm. Nothing touches you. The pain body wants to knock you off into all parts of the maelstrom so that you feed it. You don't feed it. So joy is also not driven by the external, right? So it's not driven by circumstance. It's not driven by what he said or she said or what they did or what I'm going to do, or all those things feed the pain body. So the antidote, if you will, to pain and all that is not happiness. No, it's presence and joy. People conflate the two all the time.
It's a being state where you are more than what you think, or you think the way it should be, or the expectations you've set up. I'm this age, I should be this way by now. I should have children, or I should be married, or I should have, et cetera, et cetera. Should. Or any kind of expectation that you have in an experience. You go into it and thinking that, it's going to happen this way. And it doesn't. So all those projections, the plans that you had, we were supposed to have children together. We were supposed to have a life together. And it's not there. And you've invested your identity. This is who I am. We're going to do this because this is who I am.
Right.
I'm a wife, or I'm a husband in that true sense, and I want to be a mother.
Right.
Definition,
exactly.
And it's not actually a conscious decision. It's like going back to our experience with our own child, Christopher. I felt that, okay, I'm going to be the best mother I possibly can. And then he's diagnosed with cancer. Okay. Well, we're going to fight this the best way we know how. And years of fighting for his life, because a mother will fight fiercely for the life of her child. It's what it is. But when treatment after treatment fails repeatedly, and you have to get up, you're always given the opportunity to dramatically, just, give him whatever time he has left. Give him, let him enjoy the rest of whatever he has left, his life. And they never asked him what he wants to do. That's what I always found fascinating. People will basically tell you what they believe is the best thing for you, and you should follow that. But when you ask the person who this is involving, they turn to you and say, no, fight. I'm going to fight because my spirit is never giving up. My body may, but not my spirit. So, as a mother, there is your choice. Do you allow your child to do what the doctors say, though this is the best thing for him? He's supposed to, have whatever little life he can have left before his body gives up? Or he wants to fight to the end.
And B,
what do you choose? And you have to go past being that mother who works within these defined rules of a society. Well, a good mother would do this, okay? Like, you're not even scratching the surface. How big is your heart? And why is it about you? Because it's never about you. So you surrender. And you pray, what is the best for this moment? You will get an answer. When you pray with a heart like that, open heart like that, you will get an answer. And sometimes your open heart is because it's been broken by the situation. But you keep standing. So yeah, it's only pain, as my son would say.
And in that experience, you learn that you are not pain, you are not circumstance, you are not what's happening. And so what are you? You're a being in the moment of now. And so at that time, we didn't have all these terms.
No.
This is 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
So at that time, we had none of these terms. But you don't need the terms. What you need to do is, and this is, by the way, this is the function of pain actually, is to eventually bring you to the point where you come to the end of yourself. And you realize that all the things that you were told were wrong, all the pain that you're going through is not you. All the roles Margaret just mentioned are not you. So what are you? And you come to it almost without realizing that you have. You come to it in a conscious way that you're not any of these things, but you're still here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask, as you just said, with an open heart, and your heart goes, this is who you really are. And this is the moment of now, and be. And you come to understand it. Then you may go and find all the terms, and you may end up with a radio show 30 years later. Terrible. But I want to go back to this. We don't want to dwell just in our experience. So what you learn through this is that pain is not a destination. Pain is something which, if you hold on to it, turns into a blockage. It turns into a knot. It turns into something which you have to feed. Joy and presence is flow. Yes, pain comes into everything. So does happiness. So does all the things, all the circumstances. The universe travels along with you, inside you. But you travel. You walk through pain. You walk through happiness. You walk through every part of your life being in the moment of now. And you realize that everything that happened to you is not you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's as simple as it gets, as difficult as it gets. Pain can't feed on joy, but your being can.
Your being is joy.
Yep.
And being in that joy is life. And whether or not you choose joy or do you choose pain in your present moment.
This pain should try to choose you.
Well, it's going to try to convince you that, this is the way you've always done it. You've always tried to control it and think about it, and this is the way you've always thought about it.
And everybody else does it this
and
way.
Everybody does it this way.
Right.
And it's like, no, true experience is outside the realm of what everybody else does. Path is unique, has always been unique. And frankly, it's a good thing.
Indeed.
So I see that we have reached the end of our hour.
No pain here.
Good. So I'm Margaret.
I'm Michael.
And thank you for being here.